The cameras flash. Paparazzi huddle outside a glass office building in Atlanta, shouting questions that cut through the humid evening air. The rumors are no longer whispers, they're headlines. Kirk Frost's hidden fortune exposed. Rasheeda strikes back with lawyers. Millions frozen. The streets are buzzing, and fans are glued to their screens, asking themselves one thing: how did Kirk, the man who once swore he was transparent, get caught up in a scandal this messy? The hook of this story is brutal. Documents allegedly leaked to the press claim Kirk has been funneling money into a secret bank account for years, completely off Rasheeda's radar. Not just a couple $1,000s tucked away for rainy days, we're talking 6, maybe 7 figures. The kind of money that makes you wonder, was this his escape plan all along? Was he planning for life without Rasheeda? Or worse, was someone else benefiting from that hidden stash? As if the Frost family didn't already carry the weight of betrayal, rumors, and side baby drama, this latest revelation sent emotions spiraling. Rasheeda, known for standing tall no matter how many stones are thrown her way, wasn't about to let this slide. The word on the street: her legal team swooped in, papers in hand, and froze every last cent tied to that account. Imagine the shock on Kirk's face when he tried to swipe his card and it declined. Fans are already saying the internet would break if that moment had been caught on camera. But this isn't just about money. It's about loyalty, trust, and the unraveling of a marriage fans thought had weathered every storm. Some are cheering for Rasheeda's bold move, calling it the ultimate clapback. Others wonder if this will finally be the straw that breaks the Frost empire in two. And while insiders claim Kirk is furious and scrambling for damage control, Rasheeda's silence is deafening, leaving the world to ask, what's next? And trust me, if you thought this was shocking, wait until you hear who might have helped expose Kirk's secret account. The twist: it's closer to home than anyone expected. Atlanta was buzzing in a way it hadn't in years. The news that Kirk's secret bank account had been discovered wasn't just gossip anymore, it had become a full-blown scandal that was sending shockwaves through love and hip-hop circles, the blogs, and the streets. For years, people had speculated that Kirk wasn't entirely transparent with his finances. Fans remembered the way he fumbled explanations when Rasheeda would press him about missing money or unexplained investments. But never had the stakes been this high, never had the receipts been this detailed, and never had Rasheeda moved so swiftly to strike back. The whispers about an account hidden under a quiet corporate shell company had already spread like wildfire, and the moment Rasheeda's lawyer confirmed action had been taken to freeze it, the Frost household officially went into chaos. The confrontation began quietly, with Rasheeda walking into their home holding a stack of documents in her hand. She wasn't yelling at first. She didn't scream. She didn't slam the door. She didn't even look at Kirk when he sat on the couch glued to his phone. Instead, she simply placed the papers on the coffee table, folded her arms, and said, "You want to explain this to me before I let my lawyer do the talking?" Kirk, startled, glanced up, his eyes darting from the documents to her face. "What's this supposed to be?" he muttered, trying to sound casual, but his voice carried a nervous edge. Rasheeda leaned back, shaking her head slowly, her voice sharp. "Don't play dumb with me, Kirk. Not this time. This ain't rumors. This ain't gossip blogs. This is the bank's paperwork. That account, with your name tied up in it, it's frozen now. Tell me, what were you hiding?" The silence in that living room felt like an entire season finale. Kirk's hands twitched, his leg bounced, his mouth opened, then closed. Finally, he blurted out, "It's not what it looks like. You always think I'm hiding something, but I was just trying to make sure we had money set aside." Rasheeda cut him off with a bitter laugh. "Money set aside? Behind my back? After everything we've been through? After every time you embarrassed me on national TV, you still thought it was smart to stash money somewhere I couldn't touch it?" Her voice rose with every word, her face reddening, and the veins in her neck showed the pressure of holding back tears and rage at the same time. Within hours, word spread. Someone in the Frost circle leaked snippets of the confrontation to a blog, and by nightfall, the headlines were impossible to escape. Fans reacted instantly. The comment sections were flooded with messages like, "Not Kirk with a secret escape fund," and "Rasheeda better leave him for good this time." Others defended him, saying maybe he was just trying to be cautious. Maybe he didn't trust the way money was moving around with the businesses. But no matter what side they fell on, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided. Even their son Carter, overhearing more than he should have, asked Rasheeda later that night, "Mom, are you and Dad gonna be okay?" That broke her heart in ways the betrayal couldn't. She didn't answer him right away. Just hugged him and said softly, "We're gonna be fine, baby." But her eyes told another story. Meanwhile, Kirk tried to spin the narrative his way. He called his friends, tried to explain to young Jock and Scrappy that it wasn't what it looked like. Man, they got it twisted, Kirk insisted over the phone, pacing his office. That money wasn't even all mine. Some of it was for deals I was working on. And now it looks like I've been out here creeping with my own finances. They blowing this out of proportion. But Jock, never one to sugarcoat, cut straight to it. Brr, listen, you know how it looks, right? You know Rasheeda already done held you down through everything. If she thinks you were planning on bailing or hiding from her, it's over. Ain't no spinning that. Kirk gritted his teeth, clenching his jaw. I ain't planning on leaving. Why would I leave my wife, my family? Jock sighed. Because sometimes, you don't realize the message your actions send. And right now, the message is loud and clear. By the next morning, cameras were already circling their house. Producers from Love and Hip Hop were blowing up both of their phones. Mona Scott herself was reportedly livid, saying this kind of drama would either make the show explode in ratings or completely derail production if Rasheeda pulled out. Fans were demanding answers, and bloggers speculated that someone close to Rasheeda might have helped her find the account. Some pointed fingers at Kelsey, Kirk's daughter, who had her own rocky relationship with him. Others whispered that one of Kirk's so-called friends may have betrayed him, slipping the receipts to Rasheeda to stir the pot. The tension grew heavier with every passing hour. Later that day, Rasheeda sat with her lawyer in a polished downtown office. She wore dark shades and kept her voice steady, though inside her stomach twisted with a mix of vindication and heartbreak. I don't want him moving a single dime until I decide what I'm going to do, she told her lawyer firmly. If he was building a backup plan to leave me high and dry, I need to make sure he knows I'm not the fool he thought I was. The lawyer nodded, shuffling papers, making sure every legal measure was secured. We've already filed the necessary motions. His access to that account is blocked until further notice. If he tries to go around it, he'll be facing charges. Meanwhile, Kirk was on the phone with the bank, his voice nearly breaking with frustration. What do you mean, it's frozen? That's my money. The representative on the other end replied coolly, Sir, the account has been placed under legal restriction. You'll need to contact your attorney. He slammed the phone down, muttering, She really did it. She really went there. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with anger, betrayal, and desperation. The streets didn't wait for official statements. Fans started tagging Rasheeda on Instagram, flooding her posts with comments like boss move. And finally, Queen, put him in his place. Meanwhile, Kirk's own comments section turned into a battlefield, with half calling him sneaky and a snake, while others wrote, Y'all don't know the full story. What no one realized yet was that this drama was about to escalate far beyond a frozen account. Behind closed doors, alliances were shifting. Old secrets were resurfacing, and even people who thought they were on the sidelines were about to be dragged into the mess. For Rasheeda, this wasn't just about money, it was about principle, respect, and proving that she wouldn't let history repeat itself. And for Kirk, it was becoming painfully clear that the empire he thought he controlled was crumbling, piece by piece, right in front of him. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more complicated, a phone call came through that would push this scandal into an entirely new direction. Someone from his past, someone who had receipts of their own, was ready to talk. The question now wasn't just whether Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage would survive. The real question was how many more secrets were buried in the shadows, waiting to come out, and who was willing to expose them first. The phone call came late in the evening, long after Rasheeda had gone upstairs and locked herself in their bedroom. Kirk sat in his office, nursing a drink, his head pounding with frustration. The phone buzzed, and the number flashing on the screen wasn't one he recognized. Against his better judgment, he answered. Kirk Frost. The voice on the other end said, smooth but chillingly familiar. You thought you could keep this buried forever. I told you one day it was all gonna catch up with you. Kirk froze, gripping the phone tighter. Who is this? He demanded. The caller chuckled, low and menacing. You'll find out soon enough. Just know your little secret bank account. That's not the only thing about to hit the light. You better get your house in order, because the storm that's coming, it's bigger than you think. The line went dead before Kirk could reply. He sat there in silence, shaken. His first instinct was to believe it was some blogger fishing for drama, but deep down he knew better. That voice sounded too close, too personal, too dangerous. He poured another drink, his hands trembling, and muttered, Lord, what have I done? Meanwhile, Rasheeda was in the bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. Mascara smudged from tears she refused to let fall in front of Kirk. She whispered to her reflection, How many more times am I supposed to clean up his mess? How many more times am I supposed to be embarrassed in front of the whole world? Her phone buzzed with notifications, friends, castmates, fans all, sending messages of support, outrage, and disbelief. Yandi texted her, "Sis, don't let him play you again. You're stronger than this." Carly Red called 3 times in a row before finally leaving a voicemail. "Girl, call me back. I got tea you need to hear, and it involves Kirk. Trust me." The next day, production insisted they film a scene at the Frost Bistro. Cameras were rolling as Kirk and Rasheeda walked in separately, the tension between them thick enough to choke on. Patrons in the restaurant pretended not to stare, but everyone's eyes followed them. When they sat down across from each other at a table, neither spoke at first. Finally, Rasheeda broke the silence. "You know they want this on camera, right? They want us to play out our pain like entertainment." Kirk sighed, rubbing his temples. "Ain't that what we signed up for? To put our business out there? It's been years, Rasheeda. You know how this game works." Her voice cut through the noise of the restaurant. "This ain't a game, Kirk. This is my marriage. My family. And you sitting here like you didn't just hide money from me while I was out here breaking my back to keep our businesses afloat." The cameras zoomed in, catching every twitch of his jaw, every glare from her eyes. Kirk lowered his voice, trying not to explode on camera. "I told you. It wasn't like that. I wasn't hiding money from you. I was trying to protect us. If something ever went wrong, I wanted a safety net." Rasheeda scoffed so loudly the entire restaurant turned their heads. A safety net? For who? Kirk? Me? The kids? Or Jasmine? The mention of Jasmine's name sent a shockwave through the room. Even the producers whispered behind the cameras. Kirk slammed his hand on the table. "Don't bring her into this. This ain't got nothing to do with Jasmine." Rasheeda leaned forward, her voice dropping into a dangerous whisper. "Everything always has something to do with her. Don't sit here and insult my intelligence." That clip alone set the internet ablaze when it leaked. Fans flooded Twitter. Not Rasheeda finally dragging Jasmine into the secret account mess. Kirk really thought he could outsmart the boss chick. Think again. Memes popped up instantly, one of Kirk holding a piggy bank with Rasheeda snatching it away. Another with Jasmine photoshopped counting stacks of money behind his back. The scandal wasn't just a personal crisis anymore, it was viral entertainment. Behind the scenes, Mona Scott was thrilled. She told her team, "This is the kind of storyline that keeps viewers hooked for an entire season. But I need more. I need the fallout, the side players, the family reactions. Make sure the cameras don't miss a thing." And the fallout came quickly. Kelsey, Kirk's daughter, went live on Instagram, her voice shaking with anger. "I've kept my mouth shut long enough, but I'm tired. My dad always got secrets, always got lies. Maybe now people will finally see what I've been dealing with." Thousands tuned in, dropping comments like, "Spill the tea, sis." And we knew Kirk was shady, but damn. When asked directly if she was the one who leaked the account info, Kelsey didn't deny it. She just smirked and said, "Let's just say, the truth always comes out eventually." Rasheeda saw the live and sat in stunned silence. If her own stepdaughter had played a part in bringing this storm down, it meant this betrayal ran even deeper than she thought. Meanwhile, Kirk was livid, calling Kelsey non-stop, shouting into voicemails, "You think you helping? You just making this worse. You supposed to be my daughter?" But the truth was, things were about to get worse. Much worse. Because while everyone was focused on the frozen account, the leaks, and the fights, nobody realized there was another bombshell waiting to drop. And when it did, it wouldn't just shake the Frost family, it would shake the entire love and hip-hop universe. The bombshell came not from a blog, not from a fan page, but from a courtroom. Within days of the account being frozen, legal filings began to surface online. Someone, likely a clerk with an eye for scandal, leaked the documents, and they spread across social media like wildfire. Screenshots showed not only the balance of Kirk's secret account but also the names tied to transactions. And there, highlighted in bold, was the name that set the internet ablaze: Jasmine Washington. The reaction was instant. Fans couldn't believe it. Not Jasmine cashing out of Kirk's secret fund. One Twitter user posted, while another wrote, "Rasheeda froze the account, but Jasmine already had her hand in the cookie jar." Memes flew across timelines: Jasmine, photoshopped with a ski mask, Kirk looking like a getaway driver, and Rasheeda with a judge's gavel slamming down on both of them. It was chaos online, but inside the Frost household, it was nuclear. Rasheeda stormed into the kitchen where Kirk sat, staring blankly at his phone, his face pale. She threw her own phone down on the counter. "So explain this, Kirk," she shouted. The screen glowed with the leaked filings, Jasmine's name circled in red. "You told me this had nothing to do with her. You sat there in my face, lied straight to me, and said it was about protecting us. Protecting who, Kirk? 'Cause it sure looks like you were protecting her. Kirk stood up, his voice cracking with panic. I didn't give her that money like you think. It wasn't what it looks like. She had leverage, Rasheeda. She knew things. If I didn't send her something, she was gonna put it all out there. Rasheeda stared at him in disbelief, her hands shaking. So you let that woman blackmail you? You let her take money that was supposed to be for our family. Are you hearing yourself right now? The shouting match grew so loud that Carter ran into the room, frightened, asking, Mom, Dad, why are you fighting again? Rasheeda took a deep breath, wiped her eyes quickly, and knelt beside her son. Baby, go upstairs. Mommy and Daddy just need to talk. Her voice softened for him, but her glare at Kirk was sharp enough to cut glass. By that evening, word spread even further. Jasmine herself went live on Instagram, sipping from a wine glass with a smug smile. Y'all really pressed about me and Kirk. Look, I don't have to say too much. The receipts are already out there. All I must say is, if a man wanna make sure his people are straight, that's between him and God. The comments section exploded. Not Jasmine taunting Rasheeda again. Sis loves to poke the bear. This is messy on another level. Back at the Frost Bistro, production set up another scene. This time, they invited Yandi, Carly Red, and even Mendices to sit down with Rasheeda and offer support. The cameras caught every tear, every curse, every sharp word. Carly leaned in, wide-eyed as always. Girl, you cannot let him play you like this. You froze that account. Now take the next step. File the papers. Rasheeda, show him you're done. Yandi, more measured, placed a hand on Rasheeda's shoulder. Look sis, I know how it feels to be humiliated publicly. You gotta decide if your peace is worth more than this chaos. 'Cause right now, Kirk's making decisions that don't include you. Meanwhile, Kirk was off filming with Jock and Scrappy, venting his frustrations. Everybody acting like I'm the villain. Man, they don't know the whole story. Jasmine had me by the neck, threatening to expose some things I couldn't let out. Jock raised an eyebrow. What could she possibly expose that ain't already out there? You got a whole child with her. What's worse than that? Kirk shook his head, his eyes darting away. There's more. Things people don't know about. If it comes out, it's over for me. Scrappy leaned forward, his tone serious. Brr, you better get ahead of it then. 'Cause if Jasmine already pulling strings with money, Kirk never quits. Rasheeda deserves sainthood at this point. The Frost marriage is officially finished. The hashtag Condogate trended nationwide, and bloggers had a field day. Jasmine added fuel to the fire. Of course. She posted a cryptic story on Instagram, a photo of champagne glasses clinking, with the caption, New Beginnings. Fans instantly connected the dots, flooding her comments with accusations. Not you celebrating while Rasheeda suffers. Sis, you really proud of being messy? Jasmine didn't respond, but the smirk in the photo said enough. Meanwhile, Rasheeda's lawyer wasn't wasting time. He called her into his office. This property complicates things, he explained. If the condo was purchased under a shell company tied to that frozen account, you might be entitled to half of it. But it also means the IRS could get involved if taxes weren't handled properly. Rasheeda pinched the bridge of her nose, exhausted. So, on top of being cheated on, lied to, and dragged through the mud, now I gotta worry about the feds knocking on my door. Her lawyer nodded grimly. If this goes public in the wrong way, yes. At that exact moment, Kirk was on the phone with Jock again, panicking. Man, they coming for me. Rasheeda, the lawyers, the internet, everybody. If this condo story gets bigger, I'm done. They gon' take everything. Jock sighed, shaking his head. You did this to yourself, Kirk. All these years you've been playing with fire, and now the whole house burning down. You need to own it. You need to look Rasheeda in the eye and tell her every single secret before somebody else does. But Kirk wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready to admit just how deep the lies went. And as he sat there, sweating, his phone buzzed again. Another message from that same unknown number. The condo is only the beginning. What about the offshore account? You think they won't find out? Kirk's blood ran cold. Offshore. If that ever surfaced, not even Rasheeda's, Silence or Mona's cameras would be able to save him. The weight of the unknown numbers message sat on Kirk's chest like a ton of bricks. Offshore account. That was something he had locked so far away in his mind. He'd almost convinced himself it never existed. He had set that up years ago, back when the music money was flowing heavy, and when club appearances had him pocketing stacks every weekend. It was supposed to be untouchable, his emergency lifeline, a secret nobody would ever connect to him. But now somebody knew. Somebody had proof. And if that came out, His problems would go from messy blogs to federal headlines. He poured himself another drink, his hands shaking. In the mirror across from the hotel bar, he barely recognized himself. His face was worn, his eyes tired, his clothes wrinkled. For the first time, Kirk Frost looked like a man defeated. He muttered under his breath, "If this offshore thing gets out, I'm finished. Rasheeda will take everything, the IRS will be at my door, and the streets will drag me worse than they ever have." Meanwhile, Rasheeda was at home, curled on the couch with her mother, tears streaming down her face. Ms. Shirley rubbed her back gently. "Baby, I know it hurts, but you got to see what's happening here. This man been hiding pieces of himself for years. You can't love someone who don't love you enough to be honest." Rasheeda sniffled, her voice breaking. "But I've built everything with him. The businesses, the brand, the family. If I walk away, what's left?" Her mother's voice was calm but firm. "Your peace, your dignity, that's what's left." The producers knew exactly how to capitalize. They arranged another scene, this time at a swanky lounge with Yandy and Carly. Drinks were poured, cameras rolled, and the ladies leaned in close. Carly, never missing a beat, asked, "So sis, what's next? You done with him, or you still giving him chances?" Rasheeda sighed, staring at her glass. "I don't even know anymore. Every time I think I got the full story, another bomb drops. First the bank account, then Jasmine's name, then the condo. What's next? Carly, what else could there possibly be?" Yandy exchanged a knowing look with Carly before whispering, "Word on the street is, there might be money overseas. Offshore stuff. Accounts that don't trace back to you." Rasheeda froze, her eyes widening. "What?" Yandy nodded slowly. "I'm not saying it's true, but the blogs are whispering. And usually, when there's smoke." Carly finished the sentence with a grin. "There's fire." The camera zoomed in on Rasheeda's face as the realization sank in. If this was true, Kirk had been living a double life financially for far longer than she could have imagined. Her heart pounded in her chest as she whispered, "Lord, how much more can one woman take?" Across town, Kirk sat with Jock and Scrappy again, trying to get advice but only digging himself deeper. Jock leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "So let me get this straight. You got a frozen account, a secret condo, and now you telling me there's an offshore stash too?" Kirk lowered his head, unable to look his friend in the eye. Scrappy whistled low. "Boy, you done cooked your own goose. Ain't no talking your way out of that? Offshore, that's the type of thing that'll bring the feds into the picture." Kirk slammed his fist on the table, startling everyone. "I wasn't trying to scam nobody. I wasn't trying to cheat her out of nothing. I just needed security, insurance. Y'all don't understand the pressure of keeping up a whole empire, of making sure everybody eats." Jock leaned forward, his tone serious. "What you don't understand is that you can't build security on lies. Sooner or later, they crumble. And right now, yours is crumbling fast." The tension exploded when Jasmine entered the mix once again. She went live on Instagram, this time holding what looked like a manila envelope. "Everybody keeps saying I'm lying. I'm messy. I'm clout chasing. But when I tell y'all, I got the receipts, I mean it. Should I show y'all what Kirk been hiding offshore? Should I really drop the bomb?" The comments section went wild, fans begging her to spill everything. Some typed, "Drop it, sis," while others warned, "You gon' get sued if you put that out." Jasmine just smirked, her finger hovering over the envelope, then ended the live without showing anything. The cliffhanger sent social media into a frenzy. Twitter was a battlefield, Instagram flooded with theories, YouTube commentary channels pumping out videos by the hour. Jasmine got the offshore receipts. One vlogger shouted into the camera, "If she drops that, it's over for Kirk." Rasheeda saw the live and almost threw her phone across the room. She called Kirk immediately, her voice shaking with rage. "Tell me right now, do you have money overseas? Did you really stash money offshore while I was out here grinding every single day to keep our businesses afloat?" Kirk hesitated too long, and in that pause, Rasheeda had her answer. She screamed, "You disgust me, Kirk. I should have left you years ago," and hung up the phone. The next filming day was chaos. Producers brought Kirk and Rasheeda together in a staged intervention setting, with Mona herself present. The cameras rolled as Mona said, "Look y'all, this isn't just about TV anymore. This is about your marriage, your family, and the legacy you're building or destroying." Rasheeda sat stone-faced, arms crossed, while Kirk tried to plead his case. "Rasheeda, listen to me. I made mistakes, yes, but everything I did was to make sure we never ended up broke. I saw other couples in this business fall apart, losing everything, and I swore it wouldn't happen to us." Rasheeda snapped back, her voice cutting like a knife. "You swore a lot of things, Kirk, you swore you'd be faithful. You swore you'd be honest. And every single time, you broke those vows. You didn't just stash money, you stashed pieces of yourself away from me. And I'm tired. I can't fight for someone who won't fight fair. The room fell silent. Even Mona looked taken aback. The cameras zoomed in on Rasheeda's face, her tears glistening under the lights. Fans later called it one of the most powerful moments in love and hip-hop history. But the storm wasn't done yet, because while Rasheeda finally seemed ready to walk away, Jasmine was plotting her next move. And this time, she wasn't just teasing receipts. She was ready to put them all out there, and the fallout would make everything so far look like child's play. Jasmine didn't wait long to strike. Just 2 nights after her cryptic live, she uploaded a heavily edited video to her Instagram. The screen faded in on her sitting in a dimly lit room, the envelope from before now wide open on her lap. She looked directly into the camera, her smirk gone, her tone icy. They say the truth sets you free, right? Well, let's free some truths tonight. She held up a stack of papers and flipped through them slowly. The sound of shuffling documents echoed as her voice grew sharper. These are wire transfers. Not from the bank account, Rasheeda froze. No, these are international wires. Direct to me. She paused dramatically, letting the weight of her words sink in before sliding one page up to the camera. Though blurry, viewers could see Kirk's name faintly printed at the top, a foreign bank header stamped across the corner. See, offshore. And you know what's funny? He thought nobody would ever find out. But when you play dirty, dirty always comes back. Within minutes, the video was reposted on every blog, every Twitter feed, every YouTube gossip page. Jasmine drops offshore receipts, screamed the headlines. Fans were floored. He really had a whole international side hustle. Rasheeda needs to run. At this point, Kirk Frost belongs in a Netflix crime doc. Memes circulated within hours. Kirk photoshopped as a banker with a suitcase of money. Jasmine as a villainess counting cash. Rasheeda as the betrayed queen standing tall with a lawyer's gavel. The fallout was immediate. At home, Rasheeda's phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, castmates, even business associates were calling. She ignored most of them, sitting at her dining table with her head in her hands. Her mother's voice broke the silence. Baby, if this don't show you who he is, nothing will. You better protect yourself before he drags you down with him. The cameras followed Rasheeda as she finally answered one call from her lawyer. We need to meet tomorrow, he said firmly. If these documents are real, not only does it strengthen your position if you choose to separate, but it also means there could be legal exposure. You need to protect your assets. Rasheeda nodded quietly, whispering, I can't believe I let it get this far. Meanwhile, Kirk was spiraling. The video had reached him before it even finished uploading, and he nearly threw his phone against the wall. He called Jasmine non-stop, but she ignored every attempt. He left furious voicemails. You think this a game? You gonna regret this? You trying to destroy me just to get clout? I swear you don't know what line you crossing. By the next morning, production had set up an emergency shoot. They brought Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine into the same building, separated in different rooms until it was time to film. The energy in the studio was electric. Fans outside chanting, Team Rasheeda, and Kirk's a fraud. As paparazzi cameras flashed when they finally sat down on set, it was explosive. Mona Scott sat between them, trying to keep order. All right, y'all. We need to get to the bottom of this. Jasmine, you just dropped receipts that have the internet in flames. Why now? Jasmine leaned back casually, crossing her legs. Because I'm tired of being painted as the villain. Kirk been using me, lying to Rasheeda, lying to everybody. He thought he could buy my silence forever. Well, silence got expensive, and when he stopped paying, I stopped keeping quiet. Rasheeda turned to Kirk, her voice trembling with fury. You sat there, looked me in the eye, and said the condo was about space. You said the bank account was for security. Now it's offshore accounts too. How much more you been hiding from me? How much longer you thought I'd be your fool? Kirk tried to raise his voice above the chaos. It wasn't like that. Jasmine's twisting everything, but Jasmine cut him off, slamming her hand on the table. Twisting, you wired me money overseas. You used shell accounts. You thought you were slick. And now you mad because I pulled the curtain back. The shouting was so intense that security had to step closer. Rasheeda's tears flowed freely as she stood up, pointing at both of them. I'm done. I'm done with both of y'all. You can have each other. You can have your secrets. But you will not drag me down anymore. She stormed out, the cameras chasing her into the hallway, catching her sobbing as she whispered, I should have left years ago. The internet broke within minutes of that footage leaking. Hashtags like hashtag offshore frost, hashtag justice for Rasheeda, and hashtag Jasmine spills trended simultaneously. Even mainstream outlets began reporting on it, treating it as more than just reality TV drama. Talk shows picked it up, with hosts debating whether Rasheeda should finally leave for good. Back at the studio, Kirk sat slumped in his chair, the weight of his lies finally suffocating him. Jock and Scrappy tried to comfort him, but even they looked exhausted. Jock muttered, "Brewer, there ain't no coming back from this." "Not this time," Scrappy added. "You ain't just lose Rasheeda. You might have lost your whole legacy." But Kirk wasn't finished, at least, not in his own mind. He clenched his fists, muttering to himself, "If they want war, I'll give them war. They don't know everything yet. They don't know what I got on them." And with that, the story shifted again. Because Kirk wasn't going to go down quietly. He was about to pull out his own set of receipt secrets that could flip the entire narrative upside down, leaving fans more divided than ever. Kirk sat in his dimly lit hotel room with papers scattered across the bed. For years he had been the one caught, cornered, and exposed. But tonight he was piecing together his defense, his counterattack. He wasn't going down as the man everyone mocked online, the husband who hid money offshore and got played by his mistress. If Jasmine thought she could burn him, he was ready to drag her down with him. And if Rasheeda thought she was walking away clean, he had news for her too. He pulled out a laptop, logged into an old hard drive, and stared at folders he hadn't opened in years. Inside were voice notes, contracts, screenshots, and photos of evidence of his dealings. Evidence that Jasmine hadn't been some helpless victim, but a willing partner in schemes that went deeper than the fans ever imagined. And tucked away in another folder were receipts that could prove Rasheeda herself had made compromises to keep their empire alive. He muttered under his breath, "Everybody wanna paint me the villain? Fine. But I'm not going down alone." The next day, production got exactly what they prayed for. Kirk agreed to film a confessional. He sat in the chair, looking directly into the camera, his tone calm but laced with venom. "Everybody wanna talk about what Kirk did, what Kirk hid. But let's tell the truth. Jasmine wasn't just some woman I was tricking off money to. She was in business with me. She pushed me to set up those accounts. She was the one who knew the ins and outs. And when things didn't go her way, she turned on me. She not innocent, she my partner in all of this." The producer's jaws dropped. If what Kirk said was true, Jasmine's receipts might not just ruin him, but ruin her too. Hours later, the cast gathered for a group dinner scene. The air was thick with tension. Cameras everywhere. Fans buzzing outside. Rasheeda arrived in a sleek black dress, her face composed but her eyes burning with anger. Jasmine showed up late, strutting in with her phone in hand, live streaming herself walking to the table. And then came Kirk, holding a manila folder of his own. His jaw clenched. The dinner started civil enough, but the moment Kirk dropped the folder onto the table, everything shifted. "You think you the only one with receipts, Jasmine?" he said, his voice steady. "Nah, see, you forgot who you dealing with. You forgot I kept everything?" Jasmine scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Boy, please, you ain't got nothing on me." Kirk opened the folder and slid a paper across the table. The cameras zoomed in on it. A signed agreement. Jasmine's signature at the bottom, detailing a partnership in a property investment that tied directly to the offshore account. Gasps echoed around the table. "You is eating off that money same as me," Kirk snapped. "Don't act like you wasn't right there when the deals went down. You wasn't no victim, you was a hustler. And now you trying to play innocent." Jasmine's smirk faltered for the first time. She leaned forward, whispering harshly, "You really want to do this? You really want to drag me? 'Cause I promise you, I still got more than you think." Rasheeda slammed her glass down, her patience snapping. "Both of y'all disgust me. I don't care who signed what, who knew what. The fact is, you hid it from me. You lied to me, Kirk and Jasmine. You sat here all these years smiling in my face, knowing you were part of it. Y'all both snakes." Her voice shook, but her anger was unshakable. Carly Red, never missing a chance to stir, leaned in wide-eyed. "Oh, this is getting juicy." Kirk got paperwork. Jasmine got videos. Rasheeda, about to burn the whole table down. The cast erupted into shouting, voices overlapping, accusations flying. The internet blew up within minutes. Clips of Kirk sliding the papers across the table went viral. Not Kirk exposing Jasmine as his business partner. This man trying to spin the narrative, but he might be telling the truth. Rasheeda deserves an award for sitting through this circus. But Kirk wasn't done. In a shocking twist, he revealed another bombshell during the dinner. And since everybody wanna act brand new, let's not forget Rasheeda knew some of this too. She knew about one of the shell companies. She signed off on a document years ago, back when we were trying to save Frost Bistro. She ain't no stranger to how the money moved. The entire table froze. Rasheeda's face went pale. "You are not about to drag me down with your lies," she spat. But Kirk slid another page forward, a blurry photocopy of a document with her initials scrawled at the bottom. "Tell me you don't recognize that." Fans went ballistic. Did Kirk just accuse Rasheeda of knowing about the money? This plot twist is insane. Now I don't know who to believe. Rasheeda's tears finally spilled over. She stood up, pointing directly at Kirk. "I signed what you told me to sign. I trusted you. I thought I was helping us, saving our business, protecting our family. Don't you dare sit here and twist it to make it look like I was part of your mess." The argument escalated so fast security had to step in, separating them as Jasmine sat back smirking, whispering, "And y'all said I was the problem." Backstage, Mona Scott huddled with producers, her eyes wide. "We are sitting on a This season is about to be the most explosive in love and hip-hop history." But behind the cameras, lives were unraveling. Rasheeda went home that night and packed a bag, telling her mother through sobs, "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living in lies." Jasmine received death threats online, fans calling her a homewrecker and a fraud. And Kirk, alone in his hotel room, stared at the evidence spread around him, whispering to himself, "They want me gone. But I'll fight till the end." What nobody knew yet was that another player was about to step in, someone from outside the circle, someone with the power to turn all this messy drama into a full-scale investigation. And once that happened, this wouldn't just be reality TV. This would be real-life consequences. The call came from an unknown number. But it wasn't a blogger, a castmate, or Jasmine fishing for attention. It was an investigator's office asking to clarify a few details about recent financial activity tied to entities that, on paper, had nothing to do with Kirk Frost but in reality traced back to his fingerprints. The tone was polite, clinical, terrifying. When he hung up, he realized his hands were shaking so violently he had to sit on them to stop the tremor. He stared at the hotel curtains, willing his breath to slow down. The show could spin. The internet could argue. But this wasn't a confessional chair with dramatic lighting. This was real. He grabbed the manila folders, the old hard drive, and started packing, each zip a frantic drumbeat. Rasheeda got her own call, not from any office, but from her lawyer, who said the words she had both dreaded and needed. "You are not responsible for what you did not know. We'll cooperate. We'll provide transparency. We'll protect your businesses. But you need distance from anything he did without your consent." She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and nodded as if he could see her. "Then that's what we're going to do." When she hung up, she placed her phone face down and just sat in the silence of her living room, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, the muffled traffic drifting in from the street, her own heartbeat pounding like it wanted out. She thought about all the years she'd pushed forward through humiliation, through public apologies and private tears, and somewhere under the pain a small steady flame started to rise. Not rage. Resolve. The producers forced another shoot the kind day. Labeled Cast Circle. A choreographed confrontation with couches arranged in a perfect semicircle, water bottles tucked under chairs, tissues pre-staged for tears that always came. Cameras rolled. The room held Rasheeda, Kirk, Jasmine, Carly, Yandy, and Jock, plus 2 new faces in charcoal suits sitting in the back, introduced only as compliance consultants hired by the network. Everyone felt the temperature drop. Even Carly, who loved a mess, kept glancing over her shoulder as if this storyline might suddenly bite. Mona opened with a measured voice. "There are reports that agencies are asking questions. We are a television show. We are not a courtroom. If anything you say here puts you at risk, you have the right to step out." She looked at Kirk. He swallowed hard, squared his shoulders, and didn't move. Jasmine crossed her legs and tilted her chin. "They can ask all the questions they want. I told nothing but the truth." A small smile teased her lips. "If anything, I held back." Rasheeda didn't look at her. She kept her eyes on Kirk, steady and unblinking. "You kept me in the dark while you were building a whole secret life on paper. You robbed me of the choice to protect myself." Kirk's voice came quiet, a rasp more than a sound. "I thought I was protecting us by making me complicit without my consent." She snapped. "That's not protection. That's a trap." Jock leaned forward, palms open. "Look, man, at some point you got to say it plain. What is real? What is not? Because outside right now, fans are shocked, and this ain't just trending. This feels like it could ruin people for real." Kirk flicked his eyes toward the consultants, then back to Rasheeda. The offshore account exists. The room inhaled in one long, horrified breath. It was set up years ago, when I was scared we'd lose everything if a deal went sideways. Jasmine knew. She helped because she had a plug. It wasn't supposed to be forever. It was supposed to be a parachute. He looked down at his hands. I told myself I'd tell you when things calmed down. Things never calmed down. Jasmine's laugh came bright and brittle. Not that she had a plug narrative. She tapped her phone. You begged me to help. You promised me a cut. Don't rewrite history because the spotlight's hot. Yandi spoke softly to Rasheeda. Sis, you don't have to carry this. She reached for her hand. Let him hold what he built. Rasheeda exhaled, eyes glassy but voice firm. I'm not carrying anything he won't carry himself. She turned back to Kirk. Do you understand what you did to our family? Carter asked me if we were going to be okay. I couldn't answer. Emotions ran high, and the family was left divided because you chose secrets over truth. Carly couldn't help herself. And the condo. Kirk closed his eyes. The condo was mine. Jasmine was there sometimes. He forced the words out. That was wrong. All of it was wrong. The producers earned their clips, but the internet earned something else, a fracture. Comment sections, split down the middle. Some called for accountability, others shouted about redemption. A few insisted the entire saga was a ratings ploy. But then a local news anchor said, on a very real station, that financial irregularities associated with entertainment figures were of interest to certain offices. That clip ricocheted across time. The show could handle slander, rumor, and messy lives. What it could not edit around was the sound of a reporter speaking in measured sentences that carried weight. Rasheeda took action. She held a private meeting at the bistro before doors opened. Her staff gathered at the long banquette, managers, servers, line cooks, the accountant whose face had gone pale all week. She stood at the end with a legal pad. We're going to be transparent. If anyone asks questions, we have clean books. If anyone wants documents, we have them ready. If anyone tries to spin something, we'll drown them with facts. She looked around the room. You have families. You have rent. You have dreams. This business will not be a casualty of someone else's choices. Heads nodded. A few people cried. She hugged her general manager and whispered, We're not folding. At home that night, Ms. Shirley babysat while Rasheeda sorted every file she could find. Carter padded into the dining room in socks too big for him, rubbing his eyes. Mom, are you mad at Dad forever? She pulled him close. I'm mad at mistakes, baby. I'm not mad at you, not mad at love, not mad at life. I'm mad at choices that hurt people. He nodded solemnly, as if he understood more than he should. When he went back upstairs, she pressed her fingertips to her eyelids until stars appeared. Then she kept working. Jasmine played a different game. She booked a club appearance and strutted through the fog of camera phones as if Scandal were a fragrance she'd personally invented. On the mic, she purred. If telling my truth makes me the villain, then baby, I'll be the best-dressed villain in the room. The crowd roared, but even in the gleam of attention, her eyes darted toward exits. She knew public love turned fast, and when her own phone lit with an email from an address she didn't recognize subject line, request for interview, her stomach dropped. It wasn't a blogger. It was an outlet with lawyers. Kelsey watched everything through the cracked lens of a daughter who had tried to rip the bandage off quick and only found a deeper wound underneath. She posted a close notes video in a quiet corner of the studio where she worked. I didn't do this to destroy my family. I did it so the cycle would stop. I've moved out. I'm focusing on my music. I love my little brother. I love my dad, even if I can't stand him right now. Pray for my mom. Comments flooded in. Some praised her, some called her disloyal. She muted them all and finished tracking a chorus that sounded like a siren. The next scene the show captured was simple and devastating. Two people at a table in a mediation office. Neutral walls, neutral carpet, neutral air. Rasheeda sat with her lawyer. Kirk sat with his. No cameras in the room, but the mics still picked up the edges of their breaths. The mediator spoke in that steady tone professionals practice in the mirror. We are here to find a path forward that protects the interests of all parties, especially the minor child. And there it was, the reminder that beyond the trending tags, this was a family whose center was a kid who just wanted his world not to shift under his feet. Kirk spoke first. I'll move out. His voice cracked. I'll keep paying for the house and the school and everything. He swallowed. I'm sorry. The apology didn't fix anything. It wasn't designed to. It hung in the room like a picture, slightly crooked, visible, insufficient, still better than a blank wall. Rasheeda didn't nod. She didn't soften. You'll provide statements. You'll sign releases. You'll authorize disclosures. Every dollar moves through the light. She folded her hands. You can keep your pride. I'm keeping the receipts. When they left the building, paparazzi were waiting. Questions flew. Are you divorcing? Is the bistro closing? Did you know about the offshore account? She said nothing, slid into the backseat, and stared out the window as the city passed in overlapping reflections. Fans are shocked, she thought. So am I, but shock doesn't pay the bills or heal the wound. Work does, truth does, boundaries do. That show still needed its fireworks, and life still had more to give. Another leak hit. Emails between Kirk and a consultant who specialized in asset protection. The subject lines graceless and incriminating. A second condo, not as nice, appeared in the trail like a bad sequel. And then, like thunder rolling in late, a letter arrived at the Frost home addressed to both of them, bearing the seal of an office that did not send fan mail. Ms. Shirley set it on the counter and backed away from it the way people back away from snakes. They opened it together at the bistro after closing, the three of them at a corner table. The letter requested documents, politely at first, then firmly. Deadlines, penalties. The scrape of a chair leg echoed when Ms. Shirley stood. I'm going to make tea, she said, because that is what you do when the ground shifts. You boil water, you sweeten it. You hold the cup with 2 hands and drink while it's too hot. Kirk stared at the letter as if it might swallow him. I never wanted this for us. He turned to Rasheeda, his voice raw. I thought I was playing chess. But I was just moving pieces around a table set on fire. You could have asked me to help you put it out, she said. Instead, you hid the matches. The next days became a montage of consequences. Lawyers in conference rooms, accountants with binders, producers arguing over what they could air without obstructing real processes. The network's compliance consultants became a constant presence. Their gray suits suddenly the season's most recurring guest stars. Jock tried to make jokes and found none. Carly gossiped and, for the first time in forever, Jasmine canceled 2 appearances, citing safety, and started taking cars with tinted windows and a driver who didn't talk. Kelsey moved her boxers into a friend's apartment with a view of a billboard her father used to buy. She didn't look up. The show built to a cast retreat. One of those out-of-town episodes that always start with promises of healing and end in fireworks. They chose a lake house, an hour outside the city. The bus ride there was quiet. When they arrived, the sky was a hard blue, and the water gleamed like nothing bad had ever happened on Earth. They circled up on Adirondack chairs. A fire pit hissed and popped. Mona spoke gently. We can't change the past. We can decide what this moment is going to be. Rasheeda looked across the flames at the man she had loved for decades. I'm not here for ratings, she said. I'm here to tell the truth and leave with my soul. Kirk nodded, defeated but awake. I don't expect forgiveness. I expect to do the work. Jasmine hugged her arms around herself and stared at the lake. Do y'all ever get tired? Her voice surprised everyone, including her. You chase the story long enough and it chases you back. She looked at Rasheeda. I was wrong. The apology didn't fix anything. It landed like a stone dropped into deep water and sank out of sight. But ripples moved outward. The air shifted. Even the cameras seemed to hold still, as if respectful. Night fell. The fire burned low. Yandy told a story about a couple who dismantled their empire and built it again with new bricks. No hidden basement. Jock said he'd like to be funny someday without needing pain to prime the pump. Carly whispered, I'm sorry, and everyone pretended not to hear the sincerity because no one knew what to do with it. Near midnight, a car's headlights swept the trees. A courier stepped out with a thick envelope and Mona's name on it. She signed, frowned, and carried it back to the circle. It's from the network, she said, sliding a letter free. She read silently, then looked up with an expression nobody had ever seen on her face. They're pausing production on certain parts of the storyline until the legal review's clear. A second page fluttered in her hand. But they want a statement. From all 3 of you, together. Rasheeda's jaw flexed. A statement that says what? That says you'll present documents to the proper authorities. That says you condemn financial abuse and manipulation. That says the show doesn't profit from criminal behavior. Mona's voice softened. And that says the family's privacy will be respected while the process unfolds. The flames snapped. A night bird called, somewhere across the lake. A dog barked and was answered by a second, then silence again. Rasheeda stood. I'll sign a statement that tells the truth. I won't sign a press release that sanitizes my pain. Kirk stood too. I'll sign whatever keeps my son out of the crossfire. Jasmine rose last. I'll sign if it keeps the wolves from my door long enough for me to sleep. They walked into the house to read the language. 3 figures reduced to silhouettes against the glass, the fire catching their edges. The camera lingered on the empty chairs, the slow collapse of embers. Online, speculation spun like a storm gathering in place. The comment sections tore themselves in half again. Some begged for forgiveness, some demanded handcuffs. Some wrote essays about love, money, and the math of trust. Fans are shocked, whispered the timeline in chorus. Emotions ran high, said the recap logs. And everywhere the story landed, the family was left divided. Back inside, pens scratched, pages flipped, phones buzzed and were ignored. When the statements were done, they put the papers back in the envelope, sealed it, and placed it on the entry table as if it were a sleeping animal. Tomorrow, Mona said quietly, we breathe. Tomorrow, Rasheeda answered, we work. Kirk stared at the door. Tomorrow, I tell everything I haven't told. Jasmine tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and didn't say anything at all. Morning would bring knocks, questions, and cameras waiting politely at the end of the driveway. Morning would bring lawyers with calendars, accountants with spreadsheets, and a child who needed breakfast before school. Morning would bring the hard, boring tasks that rebuild a life. But for now, the lake held the stars, and the house hummed with the quiet of a story not over, just turning the page. And somewhere in the city, an email pinged in an inbox with a subject line nobody had written yet but everyone could feel coming. Final notice. Production subpoena. And there you have it, what started as whispers of a frozen account turned into an unraveling saga that pulled in offshore accounts, secret condos, and betrayals that left fans gasping. Kirk thought he was playing chess, but every move only deepened the cracks in his empire. Rasheeda stood tall, her silence louder than his excuses, her resolve sharper than any lawyer's gavel. Jasmine thrived in the chaos, feeding the flames with receipts and smirks, while the family that once stood as a unit was left fractured, each piece carrying scars the cameras couldn't edit away. But the question that still hangs heavy is this. What happens next? Will Rasheeda finally cut ties and rebuild without the weight of Kirk's secrets on her back? Will Kirk come clean about everything before the authorities force the truth out of him? And what about Jasmine? Will she drop the final bomb or find herself consumed by the very fire she lit? The family is divided, emotions are running higher than ever, and fans are left wondering if there's any path back from this kind of damage. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Should Rasheeda finally walk away for good? Or does Kirk deserve one last chance to rebuild what he broke? Was Jasmine justified in exposing him? Or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this isn't just a storyline, it's a storm. And your voice matters in the debate. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, make sure you hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on your notifications right now. The Frost saga isn't over, it's only getting hotter. And trust me, the next revelation will shock you even more. So stay locked in, because the tea will keep spilling, and you'll want to be here when it does.